gas tax, 18 cents a gallon. I spoke earlier today with Republican Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who is trying to lead the charge in the House. Congresswoman Malliotakis, thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate the time. So your bill is basically the following, which is suspend the gas tax federal level for 90 days and then give the president up to another 125 to keep pushing it out if he wants. Why do you feel this is the need and this is the right time right now?
Look, I think we're all looking for solutions on how to provide some relief for American families. I have a district that relies heavily on their cars to commute to work and to get around, and providing any type of relief during this time, which I think it is temporary. What we're going through right now, I think once we resolve this issue with the Strait of Hormuz, we'll see those gas prices come down. Remember, President Trump came into office and gas prices went well below, went below $3, and that was very significant. He did so rather quickly. So we're going through this temporary issue right now. And so I was asking myself, like, how can we provide some relief at this very moment that's temporary while we ride this out? And so the idea of this bill is just to suspend it. It's about close to 19 cents a gallon. And I think it'll go a long way in helping families during this period.
Okay, so one of the questions here, obviously, is do you have some convincing to do on your side of the aisle? Because when President Biden had supported this very same concept back in 2022, here's what some high-profile Republicans had to say then, and we'll pick it up on the other side.
The Biden administration announced another ineffective stunt to mask the effects of Democrats' war on affordable American energy, calling for a holiday in the federal gas tax.
This is treacherous. This is wrong, and we can't let it happen.
Senator John Thune, the leader over in the Senate, of course, called it, at the time, a gas tax holiday is a flimsy Band-Aid that will worsen the problem in the long run. Democrats are failing Econ 101. So if it was bad then, do you think you can convince your colleagues that it's good now?
Well, look, there's obviously going to be those colleagues who simply won't support it. But I think at that time they were talking about the anti-energy policies of the Biden administration, which were completely under our control as the United States of America. Here, the issue is more with another country. We're dealing with Iran. We have to address this issue of national security. But I still think there will be, sure, members from both sides of the aisle that will oppose it. But I think overall you'll get large majority of the middle, Republicans and Democrats, who see a benefit in this. We did it in New York State, I believe it was 2 years ago, the state tax. And, people did see a savings. They were happy to have that money in their pocket. And I think we should do it again at this time.
How many more states should do this, in your view? Because right now, a handful or a little less than have actually gone forward with suspending the gas tax in their state. And depending on where you are in America, it's anywhere as low from 9 cents, basically all the way up to 70 cents. So if this were to happen at the federal level, it still doesn't solve doing this at the state level. Do you think the president should call on every governor in America to do this?
Well, look, I think it's incumbent upon the constituents to call on the governors to be doing this. I think that, look, any way we can provide some relief during these extraordinary circumstances, we should. So this is not something that is new. It may be new on the federal level, but this, like I said, has been done at the state level. Let's also remember the diesel fuel, right? The diesel fuel that our trucks rely on to transfer food, to transfer goods, that has an impact on cost, whether it's at the supermarket or things that you may be paying for. So, by eliminating this federal tax temporarily, we're talking about at most through the end of this year, we would be saving American families significant money. And then we would also make sure the Highway Trust Fund is still receiving the money it would receive for its roads and bridges.
Yeah, how would you go about that? How would you go about that? Because right now the money, this 18 cents, goes to the Highway Trust Fund. It funds highways and mass transit. However, there's a big problem with the Highway Trust Fund. It is set to go insolvent in just a few years' time. For example, in New York State, 45,000 state highways, 7,700 bridges that are maintained. So if you pull from that, how high is the concern that it eventually comes back to our roads and bridges?
Yeah, well, look, that's why my bill specifically says that the money needs to be moved from the Treasury General Fund to ensure that that money is not touched. Again, this is temporary, so it's very minimal amount. What I would also say, though, is we need to look at how the state and federal share is for funding our roads and bridges. New York State's budget is absolutely exorbitant. I mean, they spend twice as much as the state of Florida, yet Florida has millions of more residents. And we need to make sure that the states are matching what we're putting in on the federal level in terms of our highways and roads and our bridges. I voted for the federal infrastructure bill a number of years ago because I do believe that we need to maintain that infrastructure. It's critically important, but we need the states to kick in a little more money there to make sure that they're meeting there. And we also need to look at electric vehicles, by the way, because they're not paying a gas tax. So how do we make sure that those electric vehicles are paying their fair share when it comes to maintaining our roads and bridges as well?
Okay, that legislation back then, bipartisan, as the Congresswoman noted. We'll see with her bill going forward, and both in the Senate as well, just how much support there is as the president has called for it. Congresswoman Malliotakis, New York, with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.